everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Guys, today is January 11th, 2016. This is show 123. My screen's a little bit dark. This is show 123, and the name of the show is Extremes. I know, all you guys are gonna say, oh sure, Rich, you're gonna talk about the right-wing extremists, right? You're gonna bash them, right? Wrong. I'm gonna bash them in the second half of the show. Guys, we're gonna have so much fun tonight. Really, we're gonna give Trump the old bada bing, Trump and his minions, the old bada bing in the second half of the show. But in the first half of the show, the type of extremes that we're going to talk about are weather extremes. That's right. And we can thank Marty and we can thank Dave Straight for this upcoming topic, because I called into Marty's show on Thursday night, and don't you know, our buddy Dave Straight, who hasn't been on the air in 2 months, he was on with Marty. So for all you doubters out there, he lives. He has risen. Dave Straight's still with us. But guys, I called up and Marty and Dave decided to give me the business. And how did they want to give me the business? It was over global warming. And Judy, can you bring up that little chart that we have up there? And guys, what they were doing is they were saying more or less that global warming, climate change, is a game. And that, you know, the reason why we have to call it climate change is because, let's see, so that this way, no matter what happens, if it gets hotter or if it gets colder, they claim that if you use the term climate change, you can get away with it. And guys, I called up the show and I said, Marty, with climate change, it's simple. We get hotter hots, colder colds, wetter wets, snowier snows, and I know you're not going to want to hear this, so what we're going to do is we're going to prove it to you tonight, because that's why we call the show Who's Telling the Truth. Judy, can you get the bug up for us so that this way we can show you? And, you know, we'll verify our sources, because on the clips we're going to show you tonight, most of the clips have their sources right on them. And guys, you're going to, you know, this is going to be a wake-up call, and hopefully Marty and Dave won't embarrass themselves anymore by making themselves look foolish, by proving that they're part of the simple folk that don't bother to look anything up. You know, they hear something from, you know, hate radio, or they watch something on Fox News, and they don't bother to look anything up and verify it. And like we always say on this show, you know, be specific and cite your sources. And tonight we're going to do that. But guys, last week, the show that we did last week, SBD 122, we did this show on Monday night. It was a live show, and silent but deadly was the term that we used for the gas leak. That's happening in California. And guys, you're not going to believe this. 2 days after we put that show on YouTube, the governor of California declared a state of emergency. Now, guys, of course, people can say, Rich, you can't take credit for making the governor of California act. Hey, guys, you know what? Nobody can say he didn't watch the show and it didn't cause him that. So this is when I get to have a little bit of my fun. But guys, if you want to go back, you can look up, you know, on YouTube, show number 122. We put our cards on the table, and now we're going to show you the response that the show got. So Judy, let's have clip number 1, please.
Porter Ranch is officially in a state of emergency tonight. Governor Brown made that declaration today, just after 2 months after that gas leak was discovered there. KCAL 9's Tom Waite talked to Aaron Brockovich about what this declaration.
What are you doing? Play the clip.
Porter Ranch is officially in a state of emergency tonight. Governor Brown made that declaration today, just after 2 months after that gas leak was discovered there. KCAL 9's Tom Waite talked to Aaron Brockovich about what this declaration means.
I'm not sure what the delay was, but I am glad to see it happen.
Famed environmentalist Aaron Brockovich reacts to Governor Brown's emergency declaration in Porter Ranch. Brockovich says there is no quick fix to this disaster.
I always feel like the bearer of bad news to tell him that Superman's not coming, but it is progress. It's a step in the right direction. It's the acknowledgement that they do have an impending disaster.
Brockovich came to this West Hills church tonight for another town hall with the law firm she represents. So far, the firm has filed suits on behalf of 50 families, and many more are in the works. Porter Ranch mother and daughter Trudy and Lonnie Epstein are worried about their long-term health.
Because I have massive headaches, I have sore throat, I have coughing I can't get rid of, asthma.
Here's some of what the declaration means for affected residents. The gas company must stop gas injections in its efforts to seal the well. The state will now directly monitor testing results and repair progress. And the Public Utilities Commission will investigate the cause of the leak and determine if there were any violations. There will be no immediate financial benefit to residents.
I don't think there is a quick fix. I think we are in for the long run. I think that this is a major disaster.
The gas leak is now one of the largest environmental calamities ever recorded in the state. Thousands of residents have evacuated and schools have been forced to relocate.
They need to work quickly to find funding and get as many people and agencies as they can out here to obviously find out what's caused this.
The gas company responded tonight to the emergency declaration by saying they will continue to work with state and local agencies. As for a timeline as to when the well will be repaired, they are saying late February to late March, but there are no guarantees. In West Hills, I'm Tom Waite, KCAL 9 News.
So guys, if the people of Porter Ranch want to come on YouTube and thank us, you're welcome, you know. But guys, listen, it's a social effort. I mean, we all get together and we can make things happen. And I tell you, what really got me, the next clip, we're going to show you a representative from the gas company. And I tell you, when I heard this clip the first time, I blew a gasket. And we're gonna play you the part of the clip which will show you why I got so upset. So Judy, let's have clip number 2, please.
What we acknowledge is that this is a nuisance for our customers.
Is a nuisance the right word? I mean, when you've got people that have to be moved out of their homes because they're getting sick and schools are being closed down, is this just a nuisance?
Guys, can you imagine telling the people that you forced out of their homes that this is a nuisance? What are you, nuts? Man, when you put somebody in front of a camera like that that's representing your company, you better make sure they got their act together. Because I'll tell you, if I would have been there with this guy, I don't know, but I mean, for him to make an outrageous statement like that, I mean, that just gets my goat. And guys, now we're gonna play the whole clip. And who put this clip out? Al Jazeera. That's right, Al Jazeera. Have we heard from Fox News to this point? No. But I tell you what, I will have to back you. Fox News, there was a clip from Fox News. So, I mean, they couldn't ignore it completely. But Fox News was so far back on the bandwagon, it was ridiculous. So anyway, we're going to play the full clip now, so you see that we're not pulling any punches. So, Judy, let's have clip number 3, please.
This is what an environmental disaster looks like. A massive natural gas leak spewing methane into the air since late October, captured by infrared cameras. Downwind of the leak, 30,000 people living in the upscale bedroom community of Porter Ranch, 28 miles north of downtown Los Angeles.
It's just impossible to go outside. You know, we have to close all the doors, all the windows.
First came the smell.
I thought that I left the barbecue on, so I ran over to the barbecue because we smelled gas in the air.
Sam and Netta Monjo say in the beginning the stench was annoying, then irritating, then sickening.
Our 3-year-old, Bella, she's had 3 sinus infections in the last 2.5 months. Our 10-year-old daughter is continuously coughing. Leah, she has very bad migraines.
The leak is coming from a blown well at the Aliso Canyon Natural Gas Storage Facility owned by SoCal Gas Company. First detected on October 23rd, the leak has continued to release methane for the past 10 weeks. LA City Council member Mitch Englander is also trying to get answers. Porter Ranch is in his district.
How does something like this happen in today's environment? In today's environment where we have technology that we can monitor these kinds of situations, why does something like this go so unchecked for so long? Why are the regulatory teeth not there?
Are you able to get answers to these questions?
No, I'm not.
The gas company says it's working as fast as possible to stop the leak, but with no safety shutoff valve, drilling a relief well is the only option, and that will take months.
Shut it down!
Residents say they need help now.
Why is it taking so long to relocate people?
Yeah, we understand and we are sympathetic with the customers. We don't want anybody to have to stay in their home any longer than they want to.
But you have people that are stuck in their homes in essence. Why aren't they being relocated?
Well, we're working through the backlog. What we acknowledge is that this is a nuisance for our customers.
Is a nuisance the right word? I mean, when you've got people that have to be moved out of their homes because they're getting sick and schools are being closed down, is this just a nuisance?
In terms of the impact on health, we understand that certain people are more susceptible to the impacts of the odorant that are in the gas. We understand that.
The city of LA has filed suit against the gas company for its handling of the leak and declared a local state of emergency. The governor's state of emergency declaration makes more resources available for dealing with the leak and the impact on the community. It also calls for measures to strengthen oversight and regulation of gas operators throughout the state.
This thing has gone on far too long. The governor himself is frustrated with the slow process.
The state tells Al Jazeera it's launching an investigation into the cause of the leak and the gas company's response. But for thousands of families, that does little to help them breathe easier, as methane gas continues to escape into the air above their homes. Jennifer London, Al Jazeera, Porter Ranch, California.
Guys, when you look at it, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? Could you imagine if we told all the people, let's just pick a town, all the people in Brookfield, you got to move. You got to move until we get this rectified. Your kids got to go to a different school. Could you imagine the chaos and the disruption? And yeah, can you imagine what this is like for these people? So guys, we're going to play one more clip, and this is from CBS. And the reason why we're playing this clip is to show, CBS has been on top of this, but I want you to pay attention to the end of the clip because that's the important thing. So Judy, let's have clip number 4, please.
A runaway natural gas well in Los Angeles has been flooding a neighborhood with methane for 76 days. 2,000 people have been evacuated as Southern California Gas Company struggles to stop the flow. Maria Villarreal is following this.
This infrared video shows you what you can't see with a naked eye. A geyser spewing at least 70,000 pounds of gas every hour into Southern California neighborhoods less than 2 miles away.
We call this the BP oil spill on land.
Environmental activist Aaron Brockovich was blunt about the latest gas leak findings. A new study commissioned by a law firm suing the utility says gas is now reaching Porter Ranch neighborhoods 18 hours of the day.
And this isn't a one-time assault. This is an ongoing assault every single day.
The source of the leak is a hole in a 62-year-old pipe. Southern California Gas Chief Operating Officer Brett Lane.
I personally apologize to the residents. This is something that, the nuisance that they face, the different issues that they have faced, we do apologize for that. Again, our focus right now is to try to eliminate that nuisance or the issues that they face by stopping the leak as fast as we can.
To stop the leak, the utility company needs to drill down 8,000 feet. They're using a relief well to intersect the leaking pipe and plug it up. The gas company estimates the process will take until April. Christine Soderlund's home is less than 2 miles from the gas leak. She moved after her children started to get sick with unexplained headaches, nausea, and nosebleeds.
I am worrying about the gas every day. I'm worrying about my family's health.
There are 115 wells in the hills that you see behind me, including the one that is leaking. And Scott, of those 115, only 10 have safety valve shutoffs.
Maria Villarreal reporting for us tonight. Maria, thank you.
115 wells and 10 of them have safety valve shutoffs. And you hear the conservatives, they always say, we don't want any government regulations. We don't want nobody looking over our shoulder. Well, guess what happens? When you don't have regulations, stuff like this happens. And guys, this is a shame. I mean, these people, like Erin Brockovich said, she said, this is a BP oil spill on land. We just don't realize the implications yet because we're not walking in the goo. But eventually, it's all going to catch up with us. And like the gas company representative, he said, he wants to apologize. Fine. You can apologize all you want, but you know what? Let's see the money. Let's see you start to reimburse all these people that you put out. When you start to show us the money, then we'll know you're sincere. Sound fair? Really? Let's see what you do. Don't make Uncle Rich come out there, because I tell you, I'll get all my homies together on Facebook and you guys won't stand a chance. All right, guys, now, for the next part of the extremes, we got a call. Let's see who this could be. Who's telling the truth?
Let's hope we are, Rich. I have a question.
I'm sorry, what's your first name? What's your first name?
Dorothy.
Dorothy. Hi, Dorothy. How are you?
I'm actually very fine.
Good.
My question to you is, did you find from the clips that you did you find out why more people aren't leaving the area? Because it looks like business as usual. So that's what I just don't understand why people, because are you familiar with the San Fernando Valley?
Not at all, no.
Okay, I'm from California.
Okay.
I'm from Southern California. And that area has, let's put it this way, when I left California, that area didn't exist. And that was about 35 years ago. It's all been built up.
Okay.
Okay, just to give you a lay of the land of California. But I'm curious as to why it appears in the clips. Cars are there, houses are there. It appears it's business as usual. Did you find that? Is there an answer to my? I have no clue if there's even an answer to my question.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's not, obviously it's not a ghost town. I mean, I could see where your logic would be where it's so bad that it would be a ghost town. But I guess some people just can't get out or can't afford to get out. But did you see how nice those houses are? I mean, those are this is an upscale neighborhood.
I've been near it. I haven't been to that particular neighborhood because when I fly into LA to get to visit my family, I have to drive through San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
So you see the building that has gone on.
Gotcha.
Okay, so, and I haven't seen this particular one. I haven't driven it now in about 8 years. So some of that is relatively new or was you know what I'm saying.
Okay. But Dorothy, we gotta forge ahead because I want to get this next part, and this is where we're going to start to talk about when I called into Marty's show. And you know what? You can call us back at the backside, and you can verify everything I'm saying. Okay?
Take care.
We'll catch you on the backside. All right. So guys, what happened is I called into Marty's show, and Dave Straight was there, and what they said was. And Judy, can you bring up that still again now? We want to have still number 00. No, Judy, still number 00. There you go. All right, now go full. You can go full with that, Judy. Guys, I verified with Marty before he came in, and more or less what they said was that, with global warming, or they had to change global warming to climate change. And the reason why they had to change it to climate change is because, and Judy, you can come back and forth to me. So the reason why they had to change it was so that, we could have, if there was hotter hots, we could blame it on global warming. And if there was colder colds, we can blame it on global warming. And I said to Marty, but anyway, guys, they think it's a game. And if you can take a look at this little pinwheel game. Judy, go full again now. And guys, take a look at this clip. Al Gore's global warming and climate change game. And if we go from the top of the, almost from the 1 o'clock to 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock position, you'll see that it says floods caused by global warming. Pay me. And in the 2 o'clock position, we'll go around the clock. Dust bowls caused by climate change. Pay me. In the 3 o'clock position, winter cold, global warming. Pay me. Summer heat, climate change. Pay me. Earthquakes. Marty, I never heard earthquakes, but I tell you what, for you simple folk, we'll leave it in there. Earthquakes, global warming, pay me. Drought, climate change, pay me. Rainy, global warming, pay me. Ice cap melts, climate change, pay me. Ice cap growth, global warming, pay me. Hurricanes, climate change, pay me. No hurricanes, global warming, pay me. And guys, last but not least, Judy, come back to me. For the climate change deniers, you stupid right-wing racist, and there's no pay me. Those are the people that should be getting paid. The deniers, like Marty, should be paid for his ignorance. Because I'll tell you guys, it's not easy being this stupid. And it's not easy being this ignorant. And it's not easy going to be counterintuitive as opposed to what you know to be true and real. As I said so many times on this show, especially with Marty and Dave Straight, they believe in things that aren't provable and don't exist. Like God, they thoroughly believe in God, but they refuse to accept what is real and measurable, like climate change. So now, we're going to show you why the extremes are turning into the extremes. And Marty and Dave and all the other deniers out there, from now on, you have no reason not to be able to understand what's going on here. So Judy, let's have clip number 11, please.
Heat waves that kill tens of thousands. Apocalyptic floods. Blizzards in the Middle East. How is it that a slightly warmer atmosphere can create weather that swings from one extreme to the next? From lazy jet streams to baking soils. In this report, we explain the mechanisms behind some of the most catastrophic events of the decade. Understanding exactly how a warmer world drives weather wild is crucial to predicting just how bumpy a ride we're in for. In 2003, a heat wave settled over Europe. But this was no ordinary heat wave. By the time it was over, more than 40,000 people were dead.
So 2003 was remarkable in many aspects. It was far warmer than ever before, 2 to 5 degrees on average over the whole summer.
It was likely the hottest weather event in Europe in 500 years. Yet just 7 years later, an even more intense heat wave hit Russia, setting the country on fire. Summer temperatures reached up to 13 degrees above average, and the death toll from heat stress and respiratory illness was estimated at more than 50,000.
It was much larger in spatial extent, so it covered almost 2 million square kilometers. Really, we're not that used to such extremely hot summers, so it is surprising to see a clustering of such strong events. It wasn't only the two, there were 3 other very warm summers within the same decade.
Global average temperatures have only increased by 0.8 of a degree Celsius. One would think that this would just lead to slightly warmer summers, but actually it's greatly increasing the chances of extremely hot weather. This past year in Australia, we've seen plenty of heat. At the Bureau of Meteorology, forecasters have been watching record after record tumble.
January was the hottest month on record, the summer was the hottest on record. And the sea surface temperatures around Australia were the hottest on record. We had temperatures in Bass Strait, south of Melbourne and south of Adelaide, up to 6 degrees above average. But in terms of heat waves, what we find is the elevated ocean temperatures reduce the amount of cold outbreaks we get. And particularly during April, we had a prolonged heat wave with very hot nighttime temperatures, and those sustained nighttime temperatures are indicative of warmer waters to the south of Australia, and that's what we saw.
Although an exceptional year, it's not outside the range of what's now considered normal. If you plot temperature records, they fall in a typical bell curve pattern, with the majority only a small deviation from the average, and the outliers representing extreme hot or cold events. With a 0.8 degree rise in temperature, a much larger portion now sits in the warmer than average section. And hot to extremely hot days are far more frequent.
Suddenly you've actually doubled the frequency of those events, and in Australia's case up to 5 times an increase in the frequency of extreme heat compared to the middle of last century. And that has all sorts of implications. Just in January alone, we did about 1,600 spot fire forecasts, so that's a very detailed forecast for the firefighters, and that's the equivalent of the last several years.
Worldwide, heat waves have been increasing in duration and frequency since the 1950s.
What we thought as kind of exceptional in the past has really started to become the norm.
But even in the context of global warming, the European and Russian heat waves are way off the charts. Is this just natural variability, or is something else happening to make temperatures soar? The Swiss Institute of Technology is a world leader in climate modelling. Here, Dr. Eric Fischer has focused intensive research on the causes of the 2003 scorcher and other recent severe heat waves in Europe.
It was mainly the key factor is always the atmospheric circulation. So there needs to be a high pressure system in place to get such an extreme heat wave.
But there was something else they all had in common: dry soils.
All of them were actually preceded by very dry conditions in the spring. So we think that these conditions were already preconditioning the later heat wave.
Low rainfall in the spring months led to an early and rapid loss of soil moisture. And dry soils can be a double whammy on an evolving heat wave. When the sun's rays hit the land surface, a lot of their energy goes into evaporating moisture from the soil and from plants as they transpire. But when soils dry out and plants stop transpiring, the sun's energy is no longer channeled into that process. Instead, it's free to heat the surface. The result is a jump in temperatures. It was dry soils that turned the European heatwave of 2003 into a deadly scorcher.
With the very same conditions in the atmosphere, but wet soils rather than dry soils, the 2003 summer would have still been a very warm summer, but much less extreme, with much less devastating impacts.
An early snowmelt and dry soils also amplified the Russian heatwave of 2010. What's disturbing is that many regions appear to be trending to patterns of lower rainfall in winter and spring months, making those areas more prone to mega heat waves.
Europe and Central Europe was always thought to be always humid, basically. So it was a surprise that in that event, more dry conditions was actually enough to amplify the heat wave, something that usually only occurs over dry regions such as the Mediterranean or the central US or Australia, for instance.
Did you hear what she said, guys? When the plants and trees and the grasses stop transpiring. I wasn't even familiar with that term, but if you ever get on Jeopardy, you know what transpiring is. But guys, what used to be the extreme is now the norm. And this is what we want to try to express on this. So guys, now you're going to say, well, if it gets so hot, what would being cold have to do with anything? So Judy, let's find out how that works. Clip 12, please.
From where I'm standing, heat waves seem a long, long way away. So do dry soils. And although this summer has been the hottest on record, it's also had some torrential downpours. So how is it that it can be getting hotter, drier, and wetter at the same time? It's simple physics. When air gets warmer, it can carry more water vapour, much more. So any small rise in temperatures should lead to considerably more moisture being sucked from the Earth's surface. But what goes up must eventually come down.
Rainfall, as we all know from personal experience, is really spotty. I mean, it can be raining, in your suburb and next door not raining at all. And so that spatial sort of graininess of rainfall makes it an incredibly hard thing to measure, and in particular to measure over large areas accurately.
To find out if a warmer climate is cranking up the water cycle, scientists have been searching for clues in the restless, churning oceans.
Most of the evaporation and most of the rainfall in the world actually cycles through the ocean surface, not through the land. Because it covers 75% of the Earth, most of the action's actually happening over the ocean.
Every time rain falls or water evaporates from the sea, the surface salinity changes.
When we look at the ocean salinity field right now, we see this beautiful reflection of what happens in the atmosphere. So the places that are very rainy, say the tropics, where there's a large amount of rainfall all the time, the surface salinity field is very fresh. When we go to the parts of the atmosphere where we find deserts on land, there are desert equivalents over the ocean where evaporation dominates, and that's where we find the surface of the ocean is very, very salty.
Keeping track of how salty seas change, more than 3,000 ocean robots called Argo floats have been bobbing about on global currents, beaming back data over time. The oceans are always mixing, so results are smoothed out instead of patchy like land records. Argo data and long-term records from research vessels reveal an unmistakable trend.
Over the last 50 years, that contrast has gone up quite markedly. So, for instance, the Atlantic Ocean is becoming saltier and saltier and saltier, and the Pacific is becoming fresher and fresher. Essentially translates to the fact that the wet areas have become wetter and the dry areas have become drier.
The big surprise is how fast the change is occurring. For every degree rise in air temperature, the water cycle is intensifying by 7%. That's double climate model predictions.
The intensity of the storms are likely to go up because the moisture in the atmosphere is actually the feeder energy stock that drives storms. And we expect droughts and floods to amplify as well.
And that's what's happening. These days, when it rains, it really pours. In January 2011, Toowoomba set a terrifying example of what can happen when too much water comes down too fast.
We are moving!
The town experienced an inland tsunami as 100 millimetres of rain fell in under an hour.
You get very intense rainfall events in a very short period of time, like you did in Toowoomba. The soil just can't absorb that much water, and then you do start getting these very large inland flooding events.
By studying over 8,000 rain gauges across the world, Australian scientists have confirmed that extreme rainfall events have also been intensifying. That means we're getting more water from a big storm than we would have 30 or 40 years ago. Around 7% more per degree rise in temperature.
At its peak, a wall of water at least 4 metres.
It surprised us all, I have to say, that we got the answer we expected. So, because usually in science you don't always end up with the answer you expect. So to sort of see this coming out consistently in the data was somewhat of a surprise.
We're already starting to detect and see big changes in the extreme events, and we've only really warmed the Earth by 0.8 of a degree. If we were to warm the Earth by 3 or 4 degrees, the changes in the hydrological cycle could be near 30%. I mean, that's just a huge change, and it's very hard for us to imagine.
Well, that explains heat waves and floods, but it doesn't take a genius to work out that higher temperatures don't set the scene for blizzards. In marked contrast to a sweltering March last year, this year the US suffered through nail-biting cold. In fact, much of the Northern Hemisphere was buried under record-breaking snowfalls. How can global warming possibly explain?
Guys, we'll get to the snow in a second, but I just want to, I screwed that up. I thought the second part was the snow part, when that was the fact that hotter and drier temperatures lead to wetter. It's hotter, drier, and wetter at the same time. And guys, you know, we're going to have to accept this. And like she said, when it rains, it pours. And guys, you know, if you've been watching this show, as I've said on this show before, sometimes it's rained so hard at my house, I mean, it's like we're being inundated. But anyway, the next part of the clip is going to show you how snow, and if you remember from the 2 shows ago, last year Boston set an all-time record for snow. This year we're setting records for heat. And this is going to explain why there's a wobble in the jet stream. And this is what happens when we cause a wobble by warming up the air. And don't forget, warmer air holds more moisture than cold air. It's physics. Marty and Dave and Uncle Joe and everybody else, it's not Republican, it's not conservative, it's not Democrat, it's not Republican, it's not liberal, it's physics, it's science. It's really so. I'll get the phone, but we want to play this third part of the clip first, and then I'll get the phone. But Judy, please hit number 13, please.
To understand how, you need to consider the basic drivers of climate. As the sun heats the Earth unevenly, it sets up temperature gradients on many different scales. These create the winds and currents that influence weather.
All the ocean currents are driven by basically the temperature gradient between the equator and the pole, and it's the same in the atmosphere.
The atmospheric gradient between the tropics and the poles creates the major westerly winds called jet streams. Wind rushes down a slope from a warm, puffed-up atmosphere to a cold, compressed atmosphere.
The stronger that gradient, the stronger the force that wind is being pulled by, if you will. And then because the Earth is spinning, instead of flowing directly from the south to the north, it actually gets turned to the right by the spinning of the Earth.
These fast-moving wavy winds encircle the northern and southern hemispheres and mark the divide between cold polar air and warm tropical air.
They swing north and they swing south, and the weather that you experience is completely related to where you are relative to one of these waves.
But what happens when you mess with the temperature gradient? It's a hotly debated topic, and right now we're running an extraordinary real-world experiment by turning up the thermostat in the Arctic.
It's hard to get your mind around how fast the Arctic is changing. It's really mind-boggling, even to someone like me who's been studying it for decades now.
The Arctic is warming faster than anywhere on Earth, largely to do with the feedback effect of melting sea ice. White, bright ice bounces the sun's rays back into space before they have a chance to warm the surface. But when a small rise in temperature melts some of the ice, the dark ocean below is exposed. This absorbs almost all the sun's energy and heats up, causing more ice to melt, leading to more warming, and so on.
What we're seeing is the Arctic sea ice disappearing at just an amazing rate. This is the ice that's floating on top of the Arctic Ocean. This past summer, it was half as big as it was only 30 years ago.
Research by Dr. Jennifer Francis has shown that Arctic summers with a low sea ice extent leads to a gentler atmospheric gradient.
The force that's creating those winds in the jet stream is getting weaker as well.
Like fast-flowing mountain rivers meander when they slowly cross the coastal plain, Jennifer predicted a weaker, slower jet stream would display a much wavier pattern.
We were able to determine that, in fact, these waves are actually getting larger in the north-south direction, which we know through weather theory that those waves then tend to move more slowly from west to east.
And a lazy, meandering jet stream can have an extraordinary effect on weather.
A big dip south, for example, will allow that cold air from the Arctic to plunge farther south. And conversely, if you have a big swing northward in one of what we call a ridge, then that allows the warm tropical air to extend farther northward. So in both of these cases, we tend to get more unusual weather patterns setting up.
That's exactly what happened when frigid Arctic weather plunged into Europe and southeastern US this March, bringing record snowfalls and leading many to wonder what happened to global warming. The year before, the US was caught in a jet stream upswing. Unprecedented heat smashed over 1,000 temperature records and set the scene for a staggering drought and massive agricultural losses. This decade, the Northern Hemisphere has seen some catastrophic results from a highly deformed jet stream. While a big stagnant high settled over Russia in 2010, cold air from Siberia plunged into Pakistan, colliding with warm, wet air from the Bay of Bengal. As Russia burned, Pakistan drowned under a deluge that lasted nearly 2 months.
As the jet stream takes on this wavier character, what this means is that the weather that you're experiencing in your location is going to stick around longer. It's going to feel like those weather conditions just won't give up and bring something else. It feels like it's stuck.
How jet streams are being affected by a warming Arctic is still highly unpredictable, with many other interactions affecting their speed and movement. But one thing's certain, we'd better get used to wacky weather.
When we talk about climate change in the future of 1, 2, 3 degrees, that's actually hard to imagine.
It's going to be a difficult next few decades, I think.
When it comes to extreme weather, the connection is pretty clear. The warmer the world, the wilder it gets. And with the speed that emissions still enter the atmosphere, we're right on track for an unrecognisable future.
So guys, from now on, whenever you talk to any of your conservative friends about global warming, just tell them that's what's causing the wacky weather. And when they say, well, what's the wacky weather? What you say to them is, you know that as the planet warms, it causes the jet stream to meander, didn't you? Guys, you'll shut them right up. They'll never say another word. It causes the jet stream to meander? Yeah, bigger dips and dives, which makes hotter hots and colder cold and wetter wets and snowier snows. It's physics. It's physics. Who's telling the truth?
Rich, you said I could call on the back end, so here I am again. The question that comes up from the clips that you showed is we are doing weather extremes. The question I still have is what's causing it. They don't seem to say that. We're just having them. Remember, if the projections of what happened in the cycle of the Earth, we had an ice age, we had the flooding. We just have more people to talk about it now. I'd like your response. I'll hold.
Okay, I don't know what you mean by, of course we've had older weather patterns that we can look at. But guys, the one thing that we've never done, never, in the last 800,000 years, has put this much carbon in the air this quickly. We've added 33% more carbon to the air in less than 100 years. Every action...
But we never measured it before that.
Of course we did. We measured it through ice cores. If you keep following the show, you'll have seen that in the past we have shown where they have taken ice cores from 800,000 years ago, and they can tell you specifically how much CO2 was in that ice at that particular time. The science is settled. I mean, once you start to look at the data, and once you start to understand where the data is coming from, and you cite your sources, the science is settled. We got to forge ahead, though, because we're going to have some fun with a good buddy of yours, Donald Trump. Thanks, Dorothy. All right, guys, so now we come to the real fun part of the show. We're going to show you a reporter from the Young Turks, and he's online, and he's going to be interviewing some Trump supporters, and I believe this was in Vermont. And guys, just listen to the Trump supporters and tell me if you're not watching Fox News. So Judy, let's have clip number 21, please.
I'm really more interested in what Trump is going to do as action behind his words. The Mexicans, he's going to have the Mexican pay for the wall.
How the hell is he going to do that?
I'd like to know that myself.
But you support him?
At this time, amongst others, I haven't made a final decision yet.
Okay. This is your husband?
Yes.
Oh, so you're definitely supporting him. He doesn't know.
Right.
Okay, that's a rough conversation before bed.
That's true.
Yeah.
We talk about it frequently.
Okay. You talk about it frequently?
Yes, we do.
No more politics after brushing your teeth.
What do you think of some of the rhetoric? Him talking about illegal immigrants being drug lords, rapists, made some questionable comments on Muslims.
I don't approve of that at all. I do not. No.
That's not right.
That is not right. He can say it is what it is, but there is such a thing as etiquette. There's such a thing as being nice.
And do you agree with him that President Obama was not born in America? Because that's how he kind of came onto the national scene a few years ago, saying President Obama wasn't born in America.
Yes, I do.
Do you agree that President Obama wasn't born here?
Yes, I do.
Where do you think he was born?
I think he was born out of this country.
Really? So you don't buy the whole live birth certificate that was produced a couple years ago showing he was born in Hawaii?
That's a crock of shit. He ain't no damn American citizen, Obama. This is all friggin' politic games.
You think he duped America, that he was born somewhere else, but...
He even admitted that he's all for Muslims and ISIS, so hello, wake up.
When did he admit that he is with ISIS and for Muslims?
When he went over to India, he went and did this practicing Muslim and read the Quran. It was right on YouTube.
I don't remember seeing that. Let me ask you, do you think that he is purposely working with ISIS, or?
No, he's the puppet to this whole new world order. Really? ISIS is all just part of the game plan. But we're all screwed.
No, but it seems like you're saying that he's like a sympathizer to ISIS and really working for them.
Well, yeah. He's more sympathizes to them and the Muslims than he is to the blacks, because he's not really black.
Interesting.
If he is interviewed with Hillary Clinton, just the two of them, and he has not calmed down with some of his rhetoric, as you say, I think people will begin to change their minds.
Will you change your mind?
I will change my mind. Of course I will.
Sign of a wise woman. Change your mind with new information.
You're absolutely right.
Thanks a lot. Get out of the cold.
A conservative who will change their mind with new information? No. Marty, set her straight. Uncle Joe, tell her that's not the way this works. We're set in our ways and we refuse to change. We will not cross the party line. Whatever you tell us, that's exactly how we're going to toe the line. So guys, but you see, I mean, and the president's a Muslim? He went to India and read the Quran? I mean, come on, where do they find these people? Joey! All right, guys, now, you know, I tell you, at these rallies, it's only a matter of time before something happens. And guys, we're going to show you a Muslim woman that stood up. And we're going to show you this, and this is going to blow you away. So, Judy, let's have clip number 22, please.
But I do not believe that he actually knew specifically who was being let out. And Rose was sitting sort of directly behind him, so I do not believe that he saw exactly what was happening. And we actually asked his aides for a reaction, why she was thrown out, and they have not yet returned our request for comment tonight.
Jeff Zelny reporting tonight. Jeff, thank you very much. I want to bring in now Rose Hamid. She is the Muslim woman who was at that rally and who was kicked out and got some guff from the crowd. So, Rose, what happened?
I'm not sure. I think my purpose for going there, as was mentioned, was that I have this sincere belief that if people get to know each other one-on-one, that they'll stop being afraid of each other, and we'll be able to get rid of all this hate in the world, literally. So that was really my goal, was to let people see that Muslims are not that scary. The people around me were lovely. There was people who were very nice. They were sharing their popcorn.
I want you to
it was
take a look
very
at
nice
this guy.
people
Look
all
at this
around me
guy
who
with
I
the
had
thumb
conversations
pointing the thumbs down at this
but then
poor woman.
What happened when
How long will
crowd
it be
got this,
before
like,
somebody in the crowd tries to push her down the stairs or attack her? It's only a matter of time, and especially when you get a group of people together. I mean, you're looking for trouble, and this is how it starts. And this woman is a flight attendant, you know, and listen how she speaks perfect English.
So you said that
But watch the guy on the stairs.
You know, Muslims are just like you.
Look at this, right in her face.
Some people would say,
It's just a matter of time.
Put yourself in that position, Rose, to be around.
And speaking of time, Judy, how much time we got left?
Because I don't want to think of them as those people. I think that's what the problem is. That we look
3
at
minutes,
people
good.
and
Okay,
we
good.
categorize them as those people
Let's keep going with this clip.
These people are the good people. And I believe that people in all camps are decent people when you get to know them, as was evident by the people who were around me, who were very lovely people. But it's when you get that hateful rhetoric going is what incites people. I never felt truly threatened. I was not afraid of these people because I truly believe that the decent people would have stood up and not permitted that. That's my belief. I believe
so
that
what
most
were they
people
saying
in the
to
world
you?
are decent.
So because
and
according to
thing.
some of the reporting, they said they
Like
were
one
booing
guy-
you and shouting you to get out. And I mean, did one person really say, "You have a bomb, you have a bomb"?
Yeah, one guy was saying, "Get out, do you have a bomb, do you have a bomb?" And I said, "No, do you have a bomb?" So no, they were saying ugly things. One guy was saying, "God is great." And I'm like, "Yeah, God is great." And one guy said, "Isa loves you," which is the Arabic word for Jesus. And I said, "Yeah, I know, and Jesus loves you too." So it's the thing is that people don't even know what they're saying. They don't even they just get riled up in the hate mongering, and they don't even know what they're saying. So I basically feel sorry for them. They just don't know what they're missing.
So we hear, Donald Trump. He's told me, said in other interviews that he has a lot of Muslim friends. Do you believe that?
I don't know. You have to define friends, I guess.
Go on.
I just don't know. I just don't think. I don't know what would he call a friend, and I don't know what. So I can't answer that. Do I believe that he has friends? It's obvious he has business dealings with Muslims, but I don't know if he really knows what Muslims stand for, and I don't even think he believes in the rhetoric that he's spewing. I think he's just saying stuff to get attention and to get his numbers up. I think.
Well,
that
you're
seems
not
to
the
be
first
his biggest
person to say that,
focus.
because Donald Trump is, a native New Yorker, and there are plenty of Muslim people, as there are all types of religions and ethnicities here in New York City.
All right,
And you said to
Judy,
me,
are
I
you
thought
going to
said
come
something that
back
was
to
very-
me?
You said I went there because, not these people. I didn't mean it in that.
All right, so guys, you know what she reminded me of? One of the nuns that taught me at school.
30 seconds.
The only thing is, the nuns had all black stuff on. She had a blue and a white Habib. But did you notice? She said they bring out the hateful rhetoric that incites people. And guys, the only thing we want to incite you with is that we get you to look things up, and you be specific, and you cite your sources. So until next week, guys, Uncle Rich here. How much time we got? That's it. So I'll say toodles. Take care, everybody. Don't tell me we're out of time when we're not out of time.